I saw a post on Facebook recently that asked, people who beat depression, what really helps? There were many responses in the comments, lots of suggestions about going to God or meeting Jesus, several more about slowing down or taking a break or reconnecting with nature, and still more about seeking professional help from a good counselor or sharing your story with trusted friends. Now, I'm not discounting any of these. I will say, however, I'm not a fan of praying for divine rewiring, especially if the follow-up is to do nothing other than hunker down and pray, "Come, Lord Jesus." That kind of approach tends to result in ceding one's individual agency, which is your ability to take action and make things happen. Like, if in the event that God doesn't show up on your timeline, what are you going to do? Right? I'm Coach Dave, and I've been helping people cultivate mental and metabolic health for over 10 years. Now, what I'm about to share is not medical or psychiatric advice. If you feel like you need professional support, do not hesitate to pursue it. Get the help you need. This is just what I've learned on my own journey from my own experience. I'm not a counselor or a psychologist. All I have is my story. But if my story can help a fellow human being through the same thing, it is imperative that I share it. As author Rory Vaden puts it, you are most powerfully positioned to help the person you once were. So here's what I know from my own experience. No one is coming to save you. Now, that's tough to hear when it feels like you're drowning, but it's also strangely liberating. Because if no one's coming, then the person most powerfully positioned to make a difference in your life is you. That being said, once your head is above water, it's in the best interest of your future self to take whatever action you are capable of to aid in your own recovery. So, story time. I wrestled with what I thought was depression for about 3 years. This is like 10 years ago. I was never formally diagnosed, but the physiological experience was overwhelming and relentless. My sister, who actually has a psych degree, thought it sounded more like anxiety than depression. Author Andrew Solomon describes anxiety as the feeling you get when you slip on black ice, if you've ever done that. Your entire body clenches and you're ready for impact. But with anxiety, the impact never comes and the clench never releases. It's exhausting. I had a similar experience once speeding through a radar trap. That instant knot in your gut as you whiz past the police car, and then as you realize you're not being pursued, comes that gentle release back to normalcy and that whew moment where you realize the police aren't coming after you. Anxiety is like that, except that knot in your gut never goes away and there's never a whew moment. Anyway, one day I was sitting on my patio. Actually, it was our driveway. It was extra wide and we'd arranged some chairs and a patio umbrella so we could sit outside with coffee and a book. We called it the Driveway Cafe. And it was a gray day, it was overcast, it was cool out, the street was quiet, just birds, some distant traffic, and maybe some kids playing down the street. I remember feeling like a lump of clay, that clenched feeling, just sitting all hunched over, coffee cup in my hand. My coffee was probably cold by then, just staring in the distance, body stiff from sedentary inactivity, wishing I were asleep or otherwise unconscious, the very opposite of present. I was ruminating on my condition and asking God why this was happening to me and when it might end. And then it was like he answered with a question that struck me like a pebble in a pond, its ripples emanating out from the center all the way to the edges of my awareness. And the question was this: if there was something simple you could do with your body right now that would make you feel better, would you do it? The immediate reaction was almost like waking from a dream. When the weight of the question occurred to me, it felt like being called out by your fourth grade teacher when you hadn't read the assignment or studied for the quiz. I was nervous, but also curious, like where had this come from? I absorbed the question. I thought about the question. I thought about my answer to the question. And then I realized I knew what the answer should be. It should be a resounding immediate yes. And then I realized I was not jumping at that answer. It took less than a minute from the time the question occurred to me to the realization that by doing nothing and resisting the simplest physical action, I was choosing to remain in the mental and emotional state I was in. And that's when I began to be open to the possibility that I had a hand in my own recovery. So there's this quote that is attributed to Jim Carrey that goes like this: I believe depression is legitimate. I also believe that if you don't exercise, eat nutritious food, get sunlight, consume positive material, and surround yourself with support, then you aren't giving yourself a fighting chance. And he's right. Here are 5 things that made a difference for me. Number 1, take responsibility. Tough to hear, but no one is going to do it for you. You must first decide to take responsibility, especially for how you manage your attention. Tony Robbins said in an interview with Theo Vaughn, people don't experience life. They experience the life they focus on. When we take command of our attention, our life experience is transformed. And every one of us is capable of doing it. We've just never been taught how or that it's even possible. Number 2, move your body. Stand up straight, chest out, shoulders back, chin up. Posture makes a difference. So does breathing. Look up cyclic sighing on YouTube. Andrew Huberman talks about it. Or do the Wim Hof method or box breathing or any one of 100 different breathing exercises. It stimulates the vagus nerve and calms the parasympathetic nervous system, effectively calming the body's stress response and promoting relaxation. But I will say, do not do this standing up or while driving or operating heavy equipment. You've been warned. Number 3, systems check. Ask yourself, how is my nutrition, my hydration, my sleep, my movement, and my hygiene? How can I optimize one or all of these things? As Jordan Peterson says, take care of yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. When you care for your body, it sends the subconscious signal that you are worth caring for and that you have value. Number 4, catch yourself asking why questions, especially why is this happening to me? This question is deadly because there is no answer and your mind will continue to ruminate on it, taking your body with it and making you a victim. When we ask ourselves questions that start with why, it's a subconscious signal that we're helpless to change our state. If we repeat this often enough, we end up in what psychologists refer to as learned helplessness, where it feels like our problems are beyond our ability to resolve. So we just sit there and do nothing, which is what I was doing. So set a boundary, a little mental tripwire to develop awareness. Then when it happens, recognize that it's a signal for you to learn something. Ask instead, what is this here to teach me? This is about awareness and agency. 5, seek new inputs. You got to feed the mental machine. Books, podcasts, music, art, but most of all, people. Community, friendship, service, contribution. Decide to become an expert at initiating connection and cultivating relationships. We need people in our lives because the world is too complicated to keep it organized all by ourselves. We organize our minds and crowdsource our sanity because it is impossible to do these things in isolation. So once you've had a decent meal and a good night's sleep and maybe a shower, put yourself out there. Another big piece for me was meditation. Not for the meditation itself, but for what it taught me, which is this. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts and the director of your attention. See, the thing that drove my anxiety was thoughts about the future. What about this possible scenario? What about that seemingly inevitable outcome? It wasn't until I started meditating that I realized 2 things. You don't have to think about those thoughts. And B, you have the power within you to release them and redirect your attention. When thoughts emerge into your field of awareness that aren't serving you or that don't need to be thought about at that moment, it is possible to release them and direct the focus of your attention back to where you decide it needs to be. So here's what I want you to do right now. Ask yourself that same question. If there was something simple you could do with your body right now that might help your current state, would you do it? And then notice how long it takes you to answer the question. If it's not an immediate yes, then it's possible that you are subconsciously complicit in your current state. But believe it or not, this is good news. How? It's good news because now that you know you're in on it, you can consciously begin to take command of your situation. And if the answer to the question is an immediate yes, the solution is still the same. Begin with the breathing exercise or go for a walk and then start baby stepping your way through the framework I just laid out. Slowly, you'll begin to take back agency in your life, your ability to take action and make good things happen for yourself and for those around you. Look, I understand that anxiety and depression can be crippling. I've been there. If you need professional support, please seek it. If you need medication to keep your head above water, please take it. But if there's even a single thing in this list you can do to recover yourself, please do it. I hope this is helpful. If it is, share it with someone you care about. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your stories in the comments. This is the kind of thing I'm writing about in my new book, which will be released later this year. In the meantime, if working with me on your health goals is something you'd like to explore, visit mycoachdave.net and click Explore. And if you want to learn more about the lived experience of depression and recovery from someone far more articulate than me, watch Andrew Solomon's videos on YouTube titled Depression, the Secret We Share, and Notes on an Exorcism. I'll put the links in the description.